Hello, everybody. We are live, but I'm the only one here, and that's okay. We have possibly some technical difficulties, but I'm not sure. I know that we're expecting a few other people. I know that my brother Matt is on the way in, and hello, I'm Adam with Hospiamo. This is episode number 19 of the People Who Move Hospitality. This is the 19th name of our nice little podcast that could. But that's what we're calling it today. And I'm laughing because I'm laughing at myself, but I sometimes, oh, sometimes you're not feeling very positive or very good. And I've had a tough day today, to be honest. The last couple of days have been a little rough. But I wanted to put on my best face here for you all. Sorry, this is the only face that you got. And so what I did was I was like, I got to get into the right mindset for this because our millions of fans are watching and I need to have the right attitude. And so like just literally 2 minutes ago, I I have my phone here and I typed in to my YouTube something that always gets me: funny walking into walls and doors. I'm sorry, but it's one of the best things to put me in a brighter mood, to see people walking into walls and doors. So, welcome to our show. Today we're talking about social capital. What is it? Is it different from financial capital, political capital, physical capital, human capital? Natural capital. We're going to talk through all that and what it means to the people doing the hard work, the amazing, great work of people serving people, guests or travelers or restaurant goers, and the people that are building teams, the people that are in charge of teams of people that work for a living and that serve others. It's difficult, but these are the people that I have found to have they're social capital rich, and they're working at the property level and possibly have a barrier to becoming financially capital rich. But it shouldn't be like that because the social capital, and we're going to talk about that. I invited my friend John Cardonia. Brother Matt is coming up here very soon, and there he is.
There he is.
I am babbling away. I was just laughing because I was just sharing with everybody that I've been a little bit of a sad or like a negative mood the last couple days, and just before the episode started, I said, you know, I got to get into the right mindset, and so I typed into my YouTube feed, "funny walking into walls and doors."
That'll do it.
And it's the best, man. There's nothing that gets me. I don't like the ones where like blood happens or like it's clear that somebody like needed to go to the hospital. But just the slow person that's like not really sure where they go and they take a right-hand turn right into a glass door. Those are the best. And I like it when they're adults and not little kids because that makes me feel bad because that happens sometimes. But I'm in the right mindset, bro. I'm feeling good.
There was a Dorito Super Bowl commercial, right? Didn't it happen to the dog and then it happened to the dad or something? I don't remember. Right? At some point there was the same thing. Well, it was a clear glass door. And he was trying to get the Doritos or whatever, and he went right into the glass. It's funny.
That's right. I mean, it's commercials. It's much better than like the pharmaceutical commercials that are all over the TV.
Got that right.
Just if you want to sell something, forget about the babies and the puppies and the kittens. Just show people walking into like doors.
That's it.
It's the best. Come buy our shoes. Look at this guy.
Exactly. Well, it's good to see you, bro. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
We are live. What do we got today? Me and you, we're live. Or are we gonna bring on a guest or no guest today?
Yeah, there'll be some guests. And kind of like a panel.
Yeah.
Right. So they're they're gonna hopefully not walk into any doors, but they're gonna come in and enter, and maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for the whole time. But we've got I know that John Cardonia
Great.
um, is he invited in, but he has a cough. Um, wasn't feeling that well to be able to talk, and so he's going to be in the background here making some comments or questions,
Cool.
um, and possibly come on. There's also John St. Omer, previous guest, very good friend of ours, hotel general manager extraordinaire. He'll be probably joining us. I know he's busy, um, but if he's able to, he's going to join. And then we invited Evelyn, our friend Evelyn Barnes Willingham, to join up. She is, I think, not able to make it. She's it's a birthday either today or yesterday. She's taking some
Uh,
time off and she's got some plans for her birthday. So happy birthday to Evelyn. Sending you our big love from our family to yours. Also, a new friend that I've been what do they call it? Uh,
Stalking.
Stalking. Yeah, stalking. Yes, I've been stalking Bruce Jordan. Okay, so and I'm going to let him tell you what he does and all that. But
Nice.
he's got he's a hotel. He's got a management company.
Yeah.
He's at Orlando, and he's got a really awesome podcast himself. He is. I first started watching and listening to his stuff. I want to say 2-3 years ago, maybe even more. Um, he was one of the first that I watched, and I said, I'm going to keep watching him because I find him to be connected to the field.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
knew that he wasn't like a front desk manager. I knew that he wasn't like a possibly a hotel general manager, but the way that he was talking was that he's in it.
Yeah.
He's an operator. He's led teams. He's got a service leadership mentality. But he's also got a significant amount of operating experience because he does talk about financial literacy. He talks about owning the full P&L at a hotel, which
Yeah.
sometimes you got about 3, 5, even more $1 million of expenses that you're supposed to be managing at a hotel. And just really cool. And I like his demeanor. So hopefully he's able to come up here and uh, I want to say it's Hotel Guest Management, which is his company. And um,
Good name.
his podcast is called something else. It's like, but I'm going to let him say it. But
Nice.
I just, we're all about love and appreciation and recognizing others that are doing cool stuff. And I think that Bruce is doing cool stuff. Um, and I would love to meet him someday because he's just got like a good personality too. So
That's
anyway,
great.
so Bruce is also very busy, and I invited him on here to talk through.
That's great.
So they might be
Hopefully pop
popping
in.
up. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see in our studio if they pop in. I know that they have the link. So so the topic, bro, just like other weeks, kind of keep our eye on the themes in the world, globally and also locally, not just with the hospitality. Excuse me, not just the hospitality or hotel industry, but um, global culture. Connect. How people live, how people work,
Hmm.
and there has been something that we haven't talked a lot about, and that has to do with what started before this summer, which was the Hollywood Writers Strike,
Yep.
the Screen Actors Guild, and everyone that's not in Hollywood, just read about it in the newspaper or the headlines and stuff. I've then over that time we had Will Cannon and Elise Budell
Yep.
on there, and they are in Hollywood or Los Angeles, and they're actors and casting agents, and they have a pretty cool podcast for true crime called Killer Heart to Hearts. But I've known Will for a lot of years, and I was curious, so I invited them on too, but they can't make it, and they're traveling. But
Cool.
I'm very curious about that whole idea of going on strike, right? And like, why do people do it? I've had some hotels in my past that I've been responsible for that are unionized.
Yep.
Okay, so Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Chicago. Those are cities that have a union presence. Some of them are the front desk, the bartenders union, some of the servers union, housekeepers union, and things like that. Our dad worked. He was the whatever his title was, but he was like the chief of hourly employment at Electric
Yep.
Boat and General
Yep.
Dynamics up in Connecticut. And they were all unionized, the
Oh
pipe
yeah.
fitters union, the steel workers union. And so
Tens of
he would always
thousands
talk about,
of
what's
people.
that?
Yeah. Tens of thousands of people.
Tens of thousands of people. And so when people go on strike, so then what happened a few months ago was in Los Angeles, the the union that the one of the largest unions of hospitality workers that represent housekeepers and frontline servers
Yep.
went on strike. You're talking tens of thousands of people in Los Angeles, one of the largest markets in the world, really.
Wow.
And they just went on strike. And then just yesterday, it was announced, and thanks to John Cardonia again for sharing this with me at 5:22 in the morning. He and I are early risers, and you don't need to apologize for sending me early text, John. You're so funny. But no, he sent me the article, and so the whatever the bartenders and restaurant server union, the large one that has like 70,000 members in Las Vegas, just went on strike. I want to say, or maybe going on strike like today or tomorrow.
Mm.
And so I found that to be very interesting, specifically for our topic of today of social capital.
Yep.
So very quickly, I'm going to share the study that Hospitality Industry Impact Initiative did.
Yeah.
And about what is social capital, what is that, and I'm going to put it on here. Okay, so workforce development, apprentice, intermediate. This talks about HI3. We also did a study about upward mobility. It's another
Yeah.
term that people misunderstand, right? So
Yep.
upward mobility refers to the ability of individuals to improve their social, economic, and professional status over time. Okay.
That's good.
And then the social capital refers to the intangible, that's an important word, intangible resources and benefits that individuals and groups obtain from their social networks and relationships. Okay.
Yeah.
And so these are the other forms of capital. Okay. So social capital here is often, I'll say, undervalued or maybe not talked about as much. So it's on
Yep.
the bottom here. But there is financial capital, human capital, physical capital, intellectual capital, natural capital, and political capital.
Yep.
So through this study, which went pretty deep into the hospitality and hotel and restaurant industry, what they found with data to support it was that if you want to put a number on it, right, of what capital is, the people to relate it to the hotel industry, for example, there's 60,000 hotels in the United States. There's probably about 60,000 hotel general managers. And each one of those general managers has a team of at least 5 to 10 and more supervisors and managers that report to them. And
Yep.
then they all report to the corporate. So at the property level where they're serving guests and they're building their teams and they're responsible for the human capital. Okay.
Mhm.
So the human resources and human capital, they throughout their career, they build their social capital, which is their networks and relationships and trust that
Yep.
when people call them and when they call their people, it's like this, right? And so
Yeah.
what I am calling them, and anyone that's talked to me over the phone or on a Zoom like this over the past few months when this study was, started, I'm reminding them that they're social capital rich.
Yep.
They're absolutely social capital rich, and that the financial capital, and call it what other people just dismiss as calling it corporate,
Yep.
and it's not against anybody, but the corporate people that are not at the property level, that's okay, they exist. They are usually the ones with a higher level of financial capital, whether it be salary or ownership or distributions, whatever it might be, or investments. They have
Yep.
a higher level of physical capital, and a much higher level of political capital. Okay, so that combination of physical capital, meaning they own the building, right? And then political capital mean they might be able to call and get the mayor to answer their phone call or answer their needs if they're opening up a new hotel or something like that,
Yep.
right? So when you combine that, I think the best companies are when you combine those two things and you have your people in the field and hopefully people at the corporate level that all have a massive amount of social capital. Because when you open up a new hotel and you need to staff 100 people,
Yeah.
if you staff it with a general manager that has very low social capital, it's going to fail,
Yep.
guaranteed. Because that means people don't trust them enough to say, or maybe they don't have the experience and life experience to be able to call 1,000 people and have them answer, and then you hire 100.
Yeah.
Okay, so they might be only needing to be able. So, anyways, that's the point there. And how that relates to unions and how it relates to going on strike, I think, now this is my opinion. All right. I'm going to, thank you. I'm going to take that off.
It's
Okay.
similar. It's similar though, right, bro? It's similar because it's a large crowd of people, a large number of people who are trying to move something forward or make a change happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's
And
how does change happen, or how does something be affected, like a general manager hiring 100 people for a new hotel, or housekeepers union, getting better wages, better treatment, better something. Like, how does change happen across a large number of people, or opportunity
yeah,
for change?
it's a good way to look at it.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what
So on
you were thinking,
the,
but that's what I was putting together as you were sharing it.
well, if, yeah. And I would say, just even listening to what you just said sparked a thought that unions were created be, because of that divide of, call it maybe intellectual and human and social capital versus the physical and the political and financial capital, right?
Yep.
And when they say, hey, we want, say, higher wages, you know, what's happening in Las Vegas, that's what they're saying. They're
Hmm.
saying that living expenses have gone way up. Our landlords are charging us more for rent.
Yep.
Food is more expensive with inflation, gas prices, whatever. Our living expenses have gone up, but
Yep.
our wages have stayed the same.
Mm.
And we want higher wages. How do we get our voices heard in order to, and maybe it's not higher wages, maybe it's higher something, maybe it's just
Yeah.
something, it's
Anything.
total compensation. It's, they want to get their voice heard. And so I think that in many ways, and I'm not on any side of any unionization or not unionization, but I think that unions were created because the collective voice, you know, if you have 60,000 people all screaming the same thing, it's just noise.
Yep.
But if you have 60,000 of people that are funneled or harnessed into one voice, a union, or a company, right? Or a nonprofit company, or a for-profit company, or some sort of support to harness it, then the voice is laser focused and it can go directly to the people that need to hear it. And I
Yeah.
think that that is where successful campaigns of just trying to make something better, right? It might be
Yep.
even, back in the day, it was, in the industrial age of the 1800s, it was like, hey, that you could hire someone that's 7 years old and have them fold towels. I mean,
Yep.
until, essentially they were saying, "Well, that's not right. You
Yeah.
should not do that. That's like," and then you could
Child
pay them
labor.
less
Yeah.
because they're younger, right? You could
Yeah.
pay them less because they're a female. You could pay them less if they're not the right color of skin. You could pay them
Yep.
less, for all that stuff. And so, we've come a long way in the United States, that's for sure, to even have that ability for people to say, I don't like this. I want something better. We need some help. And so,
Yep.
um, in many ways, this podcast, this thing that we're doing, we're getting voices that are out there. Um, and allowing people to hear what they're saying from the field. These servers, these managers, these people that lead fairly large teams of people. One of them just popped in. That's John St. Omer. I don't know if we can see him yet, but there he is.
There he
Hey,
is.
the leader's leader. Are you there?
He paused there.
You froze up. Oh, look at that view. You're in an atrium somewhere. But we're not getting good connection, man. You keep freezing up. I'm glad you're freezing up while smiling. He'll come back.
He's always smiling.
And John is looks like John is trying to get in, but might be making comments. I'm not sure. Oh, there's John. All right, John Cardonia. Clap,
He's
clap,
making
clap.
comments, I think.
We got John Gotti over here making comments. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Oh, and I just lost my brother. Matt will come back on. I love this. There's John. I'm bouncing on different platforms. Okay, John. Thanks, man. I see you. Unfortunately, you can see me and me only. Matt will join back on. I don't think I kicked him out, but he'll come on back. So we're talking about social capital and stuff, and I and recently the topic of employees going on strike when they're part of a union. It recently happened in hospitality in Los Angeles. There's my bro. Did I kick you out?
No, I was not logged in, and I just
Okay.
while you were trying to get John going, I just tried to click the login button, but it took me out and then back in. So that was on me.
That's cool. Yeah, so we're talking about social capital, and just because it popped up on my radar this week with unionization and strikes. Does that make sense? I mean, if let's say you're
Let's talk about the
maybe
outcomes. Let's talk about what happens. So you got tens of thousands of people. They're aligned in a union or in a workers' strike of some sort, right? Their goal is to, it sounds like they have, not having been involved with that personally, but just being on the outside, intellectually, I would think that number one, you got a lot of people. So you need to align on what are the key demands, like what are we really asking for change, like our top three or whatever. So you have to minimize and prioritize your list of what your ask is. It has to be pretty tight. It can't be, because you got 10,000 people. If you made a list of everything, there's going to be 10,000 things on it, right? So you got to make a very itemized, short, prioritized list of what the group wants, what's in their best interest. And then you're bringing that to a decision-making group of people or individuals or whatever, is my guess how it works. And then they say, okay, let's talk about this, because you have the group of people has the power of really just really affecting the ability for the hotel or business or whatever to be able to do business. Because if no one's showing up for work and there's a strike, obviously you can't do work, right? And so that's their power. The
that's
leaders,
their power. Yeah.
The leaders have the power of making the decision to make their to meet some or all of the demands to make their lives better, right? Which is what they're asking for. So at some point, there's a conversation, right? But it's a conversation representing, you're talking about social capital. You have a few people representing the voice of tens of thousands, and then you got another handful of people who are representing the voice of ownership or leadership or what have you. And then those people, I'd imagine, I've never been in the room, but get into a closed room and they talk it out and they say, listen, this is what we need. And there's alignment and back and forth. And sometimes it takes a long time. It takes days and days. And I think there's been some strikes that have gone on for months, which is painful to everyone involved, right? It's painful to the business owners because they're not getting as much done, but it's painful to the people who are on strike because a lot of times they're not getting paid. And that's where maybe the union allows them to get some pay or some compensation, but it's not something I would think that anybody would enter into lightly, from what my experience, because the people who are working want to work. They want to make some money. And yeah, maybe you want something more, But if you go from, hey, I want something more, to I'm going to be at 0 or at only 10% or 30% of what I normally get paid with my union fees, whatever it is, I don't know. But if you're going to go backwards temporarily to try to go forwards, that's painful, right? That hurts
It
your
is
family
painful.
and your life. And,
Yeah.
your
So
quality of
I
life is
would
different too. If you love what you do, guest services and housekeeping and all the different things that we talk about, if you love what you do and now you can't do what you love because you're on strike for a little while, that hurts your heart, right? So
hurt your
that's
heart and it
tough
hurts
too.
your bank account, right?
It hurts your bank account, but it also just hurts you. It's like, hey, I want to take care of these guests. We got guests coming to the hotels or restaurants or what have you, and it's like, hey, it's like everybody putting on the pause button because there's been enough tension or disagreement in the system that it's like, hey, it got so bad because these things are so important to us and they're not being addressed, that we now have to go to this extreme measure of a strike, which is painful and awkward for everyone involved. And hopefully that's enough of a pain that we can get to a quick decision and come to an alignment and agreement without having to have this last, many days, weeks, months, or what have you.
I would say the
That's my view.
practical. Yeah, I'll get very specific. And another example is sports, baseball. They're actually part of a union, right? I mean, all
Yeah.
the NBA players, baseball players, football players, they're part of the players' union. And Kurt Flood is the name that comes to my mind. In the '70s, he was an all-star player for the Reds, I think, at the time, Cincinnati Reds. And this is before the players' union really existed. And back then, if you said, I'm not getting paid enough or whatever, or you just hired somebody, you just brought somebody on that's not been with the team as long as I have or produced the
Yep.
better results, and you're paying them double, there really was no option. You could
Yeah.
walk off, but you couldn't get hired by another team.
If you're under contract.
Um, Contract. That's right. Yep. They have you're owned.
Yeah.
You're owned. And
You're
so
on.
until there's a gentleman that I can't remember his name, but it's he revolutionized that collective bargaining process in Major League Baseball, which Major League Baseball was like one of the last um, even industries to get any kind of collective bargaining in there. So, but let's talk about specifically what you were just talking about. So let's say you're a manager at a restaurant
Mm-hmm.
and you've been there for 5 years and you've got a lot of social capital, meaning you have sales accounts, you have groups and sales accounts of people that come in there regularly. You have all the vendor relationships of people. You have good deals that you're able to buy fish at a certain amount
Yep.
that they would probably charge more. You've got a stabilized staff with people that are loyal to you because you're the manager.
Yep.
It's very stable, right? So, and the restaurant, let's say, is bringing in $1 million worth of revenue per year, and the restaurant manager says, "You're paying me, I don't know, $50,000 a year." And a restaurant just opened up across the street, and they're hiring a restaurant manager for $60,000 a year, and I would like you to match that for me to stay, right?
Yeah.
So that person is rarely, part of a union or
Yep.
rarely on a contract. So what he's saying is the same thing as all these 60,000 people in Las Vegas are saying. We
Yep.
would like more. We would like to, and they're not necessarily saying that you're treating us badly or that you're making us live in, bad environments or
Right.
anything like that. They're
They
asking
want
for,
fairness. They want
they want fairness.
a fair package of
And
treatment.
so that restaurant manager, if the owner of the restaurant says, no, sorry, we appreciate you, but all we can pay is 50,000, that person has a choice. Now, what if that person says, okay, thanks for listening, and then he or she applies for the job across the street, and he gets it. He's getting more pay. Is what he wanted. And now what happens to the owner? The owner, if he's making $1 million a year, you have a turnover of person with a high social capital, high
Yep.
electoral capital, high intellectual capital, and human capital because he's stabilized things. His revenue is going to go down. His profitability is going to go way down.
Yeah.
And he's likely going to experience more employee turnover of hourly wages, of hourly servers and bartenders and such. So if the hotel owner doesn't calculate that fairly quickly in his mind or her mind, then they should be like, you know what, $10,000 more to match it is probably a lot less than it's going to cost me to replace that person.
Oh yeah.
And
Even
and
just
that
even just
cost of
replacing.
replacement, right, in the long term. So if they're short term thinking, they're thinking, I can't, no way, I can't do that, rather than get a compromise out there. So how that works, I think, from the perspective of what's happening in Las Vegas this week, in Los Angeles, and even the writer's strike in Los Angeles, Hollywood, is they're saying we want something. And the writers one is interesting because it involves artificial intelligence, which we can talk about.
Yep.
But they're saying we want something that we're not currently getting, and we're leaving. We're not working. And so right now in Las Vegas, I think it's happening right now. Um, ho- Tens of thousands. It's the largest hotel market from guest rooms perspective in the nation, and
Wow.
so um, largest number of hotel guest rooms in the
So
nation.
how does that affect this is just the housekeepers union or more
I didn't research it well, but I did read that it's the bartenders. So
bartenders?
the housekeepers was the one in Los Angeles, and I think they came to an agreement. Um, I'm sorry, I was mix matching them. You're right. So the in order to serve liquor,
Yep.
you need a certification.
Yep.
Okay, so you need to be tip certified, serve safe. We've had another episode on that even.
Yep.
Um, and if you don't, then the owner is very liable. That means they're hiring people that are not certified to serve alcohol.
Right.
Now, what's happening in Vegas is there's 60,000. I think I read the number right. There's 60,000 bartenders that are part of this union, and
Wow.
they're saying nope, we are not coming into work today. And so owners have an option: keep it going, hire bartenders that are not part of the union that are probably not certified,
Wow.
right? Increase your risk, or don't serve alcohol. Your revenues go way down.
Yeah, and in Vegas, right? I mean, that's a
And
big
it's Vegas, yeah.
that's
And
big money.
and so, they also have a union for poker dealers. Okay. And I worked at Foxwoods Casino.
Yeah.
God bless you, Foxwoods, for my
Woo!
first opportunity. Mashantucket Pequods. Um, or as we used to say, ledgered. Anyone listening? And so anyways, they have a union for casino dealers. It's the Atlantic City. I mean, they're famous for it. Las Vegas, Foxwoods Resort Casino
Yeah.
up in Connecticut, and all these riverboat casinos going on. So they all have unions. So if your casino is dependent on revenue coming in from poker, and you need a license to be a poker dealer,
Oh yeah.
and when they leave, they say we want better pay or whatever, more revenue share, whatever it might be, and they leave, you can't have a poker table
Yep.
open. So yeah,
It's a big deal.
yeah,
It's
it's leverage, right? It's
yeah, it's
probably the
leverage.
word is
Leverage is a good
leverage.
word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, leverage is a good word. And I think uh I I'm very passionate about getting the numbers behind people, and to educate them, the people that have a high amount of social capital, and how
Yep.
do you articulate that to a future boss, or your current company, or your next career, or your next career step. And I think that is where a lot of the coaching and counseling and mentoring that I do with Hospiamo, but also with the HI3 nonprofit. And the reason that exists is because there are ways for you to value your own social capital. And here's a question, and that's what I put it in in the title here, bro. It says social capital and hospitality management. Know what you already own.
Mm.
So um, if I wanted to say that I am your supervisor and I want to empower you today, right?
Yep.
uh, I could say you're already empowered,
Mm-hmm.
right? You already own that. And so you don't have to ask me to give somebody a discount if they didn't have an enjoyable stay, or give them a free drink or whatever. However way, if your job is to make sure that everybody walks in is safe and secure and is happy, and they leave either as happy or as satisfied and as safe as when they left or more, then you do whatever it takes to make sure that that happens. You are
Yeah.
empowered to make those decisions. Once that person has that empowerment to make those decisions, then they can. It's up to me as a supervisor to encourage that and to remind that person and to not put that person in any kind of fear,
Yeah.
to not be empowered. And I think that happens a lot. And so with social capital, if you're that restaurant manager, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just working day to day, maybe you want a higher budget for training.
Yep.
Maybe you want to just do things a little bit different. Maybe you want to start serving ribeye instead of just sirloin. Well,
Yeah.
ribeye's too expensive, can't do that. Well, somebody with a social capital can impact that change. They can impact it, and they can use their resources, those intangible resources.
Yep.
They can call somebody to be like, hey, how do I write up a quick valuation or um,
Cost benefit analysis of
cost
steak,
benefit analysis of
types of
serving
steak.
ribeye at my restaurant?
Yep.
Yeah. And maybe they don't know how to do that. And then they call someone like me or you and be like, oh yeah, here's a spreadsheet. Boom,
Yep.
do this, here's the price. And so I think that social capital, just like empowerment, already exists, and it grows as a person lives and a person grows in their own career in life, right?
Yep.
And um but it's intangible.
Yeah.
It's intangible. It's not money. It's not measured on, like, it's not a heat index, right? It's
Right.
not
No,
a temperature
exactly.
gauge. But there are ways. So somebody like John Cardonia, I told him recently, he's social capital rich. Like,
Yep.
there is, if you want to buy something, like if you need 100,000 yards of carpet in your new hotel, you call John Cardonia, right?
You know how to get it. Yep.
And he knows how to get it. He knows how to price it, knows how to value it, knows how to
Yep.
get it to you, knows what country that's currently manufacturing. He's tracking all of that.
Yeah.
Um, and or you could just go to you can pay $3,000 and become certified in procurement.
Yeah.
So that $3,000 that you don't have to spend on educating yourself,
Yep.
you call John, and he's going to help you do that. And that's social capital. That is either producing more of an income or less of an expense or more of a revenue or some sort of benefit, or creating something or making something better,
Yep.
right? That's
That makes sense.
that's what we're doing together. You connect with people that are social capital rich. And oh, good, John heard that. Thank you. You're welcome, John. I say it with truth, my brother. All right.
Yeah, and it's interesting, bro, because because it's intangible. Um, the human logical mind wants to find a way to see it, right?
Mhm.
So how can you see it? Can you see it in the tracks that they leave behind, right? Their tracks of success, like that general manager at the hotel or at the restaurant you're talking about, the restaurant manager, right? So if you look at his or her track record over the last 15 years that they were working at three different restaurants, say, you know, are all those restaurants overperforming the market for that area? And then if so, it's like, sort of, how do you track the facts, or like how do you,
Yep.
maybe there's a way to measure the impact, right? Like a while ago,
Yeah.
there was I don't know if it's still there, but there was a, a social media thing called Clout, Klout.
Yeah, I remember that.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it's still there or what, but I remember like 10 years ago it was out. And it was like, oh, who's got the most followers on all these different platforms? And the more followers you have, the more clout you get. And if you like someone's article, you get clout, whatever. So it's trying to track that, like that's social media related, right? But from a person perspective, there's so much intangible that happens. And you and I talk about like the soft skills and the things that aren't on your resume a lot too. And it's challenging to, number one, be self-aware of how much social capital you have, and then number two, be able to prove it to somebody so you're fairly compensated, or you're fairly you know um, the demand for you is high enough related to your social capital. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
And
so
you can,
that would be an interesting thing. Like if you could go into the, I don't know, like a God view of all the people, you could see the social capital, and you could see, all right, if we have to choose between these 5 different managers for the restaurant, here's the social capital. Because if this person comes in with their network in the area and their social capital, blah 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 blah, our forecast is that that's the most likely manager to hire because it's going to bring us the most benefit over time, right? And it's like we don't have a good way to put glasses on and see that, right?
yeah, we don't. And, but there's a way to score it. And, we don't have a name for it, but, you and I have talked a lot about impact scorecards. And so we have developed one, right? And one of those line items is actually, connections that, you have on LinkedIn.
Cool.
So, and then another one is how many testimonials do you have from people that used to work for you or work with you on LinkedIn?
Yep.
How many articles or blog posts have you made over the past year? That's a number. These are
Yeah, you're right.
numbers,
You're right.
and these are numbers that if somebody doesn't know you, these are numbers that prove that you are engaged.
Yeah.
You might not be an expert, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, but you're engaged and you're thinking about this business, right? So if you
Yeah.
go on to John Cardonia's LinkedIn page, I'm talking hospitality hotel people. If you go on to my LinkedIn page, if you go on to John St. Omer, if you go on to Evelyn Barnes, Willingham in Alabama, and countless others,
Yep.
countless others that we've all worked together for 25, 30 years, they all have their own networks. And one of the, if you look at the interactions, you can find out on anybody's LinkedIn page what they're liking,
Yeah.
what they're commenting on, what they're sharing. And so I've said to a lot of people, if you want to know about me, just go on my LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
That's it. If you want to know about me, just type in Charlotte Hotel Adam, and
Yeah.
I'm going to pop up because I'm highly engaged in this industry and I live in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And and it's not because I'm trying to prove anything, but I'm proving my engagement. I'm engaged.
So
Maybe some of the stuff that I say you don't agree with, that's fine. Maybe there's some people that say negative things about how I feel about things. That's fine too.
yep.
But it's just, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just engagement. And you think about that, right? And then you think about a job application, just like you said, right? Somebody wants to hire a hotel general manager, and you got me and John Cardonia, you got Evelyn and John St. Omer and all these other people. And then you got someone over here that has a beautiful resume,
Mm-hmm.
more experience than all of us, but doesn't have a LinkedIn profile.
Mm.
I gotta be honest. I'm probably not going to consider that person because I'm like, this sounds weird. I start thinking that this might not be real.
Right.
I start thinking like, how I want to see what you're doing. I want to see who you're
Yep.
connected to. And that's the way that business was done 25 years ago, where that's all you had to use. And so the reason why you and I, one of the reasons why we chose to do this on LinkedIn Live is because the power of social capital. It's the power of you and your network, and it has done amazing things for me, to stay in touch with the people that I probably would not have been able to stay in touch with.
Yeah.
And so, thanks, John, for saying good point. And it's powerful. And so I think I love link. I mean, there's, we don't have to promote LinkedIn. I think everyone knows what that is, but you can have your own group. You can have private chats. You can have messages. You can share articles and,
But it's important. You're bringing up an important point, because I've had the same thing happen where someone would contact me and maybe they want to get they want to accelerate their career path. And, if they're right out of college, I'll give them a little bit of a pass on this. But if they've been out in the industry, they're in their mid 20s or 30 plus, and they've been in the industry for a little while, and they're on LinkedIn, if they show less than 500 connections, automatically, I'm like, the first thing you got to do is get 500 connections, because that shows that you care about what you're doing from a business perspective, from an industry perspective. And that's just, you may care a lot or care a little, but the numbers are going to show, one way to view how much you're engaged. Like you said, engagement's a good word. And if you're not, if because anybody can set up a LinkedIn profile with nothing, like no followers or no nothing, and then just make up stuff and put a whole profile together. That's not enough anymore. 10 years ago, it was. You could do that. You had a resume, you had a LinkedIn presence, great. You exist. But now everybody's on LinkedIn. And if you want to play in a business or professional manner, LinkedIn is the place. So you got to get there, get smart about it. I think it's good that you're promoting it a little bit here, right? It's a very, very effective social media platform to communicate and interact with people in the business world. There's just a lot on there. You want to get better? Read articles and blogs and things like that are on LinkedIn. Look for the popular people in your industry, hospitality, whatever it is. You can learn, right? You can follow people like you, bro. Follow people like other people. See what they're commenting on. See what they're posting on. See who their friends are. Connect with people. This is all free, by the way. This is a whole social media platform. You get on for free. And then, by the way, as you interact with people, then people start to see you, because your social capital goes up, right? You're networking with people. You're connecting with people. And this is all just, it's a platform for engagement and all this. And there's a lot that you can benefit from. It's free from a money perspective, but it's not free from a time perspective. You got to put your time in, and you got to connect with people. You got to think about it. Like, what do I want in my career? And go follow the people that are farther ahead in your career, and then connect with them. Have conversations with them. You have a free messaging platform on there too, right? People contact me, I'm sure you too, bro, every day. It's like, hey, can you help me out? I'm looking for a job over here. I'm looking for this. I need some career advice, whatever it is, right? And we help them. That's the way it is. Most people don't ask. And a lot of people who want a better career, better job, better future in the hospitality world, all they got to do is start by getting on LinkedIn and put a profile picture there too, by the way. That's number 2. Number 1, get 500 connections as fast as you can. Number 2, put a profile picture up. The best picture you got of yourself, put it up there, because that's a big way to translate and make a human connection, right? If you're up there without a profile picture or a little cartoon or whatever, or an image, it's hard for humans to see you as a human, even though it might be fun with your friends, or maybe I've talked to a number of people, they just weren't comfortable with their picture, comfortable putting their picture up. I said, put it up. When you put it up, now you're a human. Now you're a real person. Now you're being more transparent with who you really are and what you really represent. And that's what we're missing in today's digital age, is that human connection, that human factor.
Right. So go a little bit more than what you may have learned 10 years ago, right? It's like, all I got to do is have a profile on LinkedIn and people will find me. No, it's like, just do the basics by getting your picture up there, but then engage, start connecting, start asking questions. John Cardonia is a master at this. And there's a lot of masters at this, but he's just naturally curious. And John and I talk a lot about these things, right?
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about companies. Okay. So think about all that, what you just said about engagement and what it means to the person that's the worker or the leader in the field. But what about from a company perspective? And so
Yeah, same
What
thing.
if you can have a company page and you can engage as a company, and what is that telling potential or future employees or workers? That company is engaged. Wow, very interesting. And so I think that company pages are where individuals were 10, 12 years ago on
Yeah,
LinkedIn. I think that there is a massive ditch of understanding the value of that from a company
yeah,
perspective. And anybody, that's the first thing that I suggest to anybody that says, I just can't hire good people. I can't attract the right people. Well,
yeah,
who are you?
yeah.
Who are you except a web page?
And you posted something on this. It was probably a year or so ago, bro. I don't remember. It was a while ago. But you did. I know. I think you were part of, or you led a study about the engagement of
Yep.
hospitality companies. And I remember one post that you made on LinkedIn, which stood out in my head, being very visual, was about a an employee at one particular property, and it was one of the top ones that you had in your study. And that property, one of their property managers, I don't even think it was a company page, but the leadership at that property recognized one of the individuals, one of the staff members of that property, and recognized them in a very public way on LinkedIn. And it was a beautiful write-up that automatically elevated not only the perception of that employee who got recognized, but elevated the leadership and the culture and the perception externally of that business. So right there, again, this was free.
Chills. It's
That was
free. It gives
free.
me chills because it's exactly right. And it takes a minute,
And that was a
not
big
even.
deal. And nobody's doing it. That was the point of your study. Nobody's doing it. If very, very few people, companies are doing it. But if you do that, that shows that you care about the people. That shows that you're paying attention as leadership. And that shows that you have a positive culture there that, again, will attract people to work there, because people want to work at a place where they're well recognized, well compensated, taken care of, supported. They feel they add value and that they're seen, that their value is seen. That's what people want. And when they see that publicly, everybody wins. Everybody wins. And there's such a, I agree with you, there's such a lack of that that's out there,
Yeah.
right? All the companies or brands or whatever are big on like trying to push all these little posts out there to try to raise their followers and things like that. Don't forget about the people that work with you, right? And how
Yeah.
great your culture is.
And be proud about the company that you're working for, and like be,
Yeah.
mention them. I mean, it's yeah, I did that study. It was the first thing that I did, Matt, when I left my other company that, brought me here to Charlotte. And it was the first study I did. It was in 2016. And I just started with a question. I was like, what are companies, hotel companies, not Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, management companies, that employ most of the people in hotels? Uh, I just noticed, I was like, I'm seeing a lot of them promote their company. I'm not seeing them promote people, that like pictures of them that do that. I see them promoting their annual conference. That's fine. I see them promoting their corporate work life. Like, hey, congratulations, this person's been with us for 5 years and celebrating. And I said to a few of my friends, if you're the hotel general manager and you work for this company and they're promoting the fact that they're celebrating birthdays up at the corporate office in Atlanta, but you work in Pennsylvania, how does that make you feel? It might be a great company to work for with great benefits and everything. How does that make you feel? And you know what the answer is,
Yeah.
right? It's like, I don't really have a budget to do that, even for myself, let alone all my team members, right?
Yeah.
And so they can't even share that to be like, hey, look at what they're doing over there.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that for us? And so that's where it started. And I check in on it every year, Matt, and it's not better. It's they're still not getting it, and how powerful that is. About just make a couple posts a day, have your general manager send you a picture of your housekeeping director or a housekeeper that just got a nice guest satisfaction letter from
Yeah.
a guest. Send the pictures up there. Create your own photo album with thousands of pictures and just make a post a day. That's it.
Yeah.
Check
Man,
out
I think
yeah.
so. You know what's interesting is, as I think about this, I think we're hitting on something that goes across industry. And there's a lot of individuals, and we just said individuals need to get on LinkedIn, obviously, right? There's a lot of individuals who I see recognizing themselves, and maybe a friend of theirs, oh, congratulations, you got a new certification or you got a promotion, right? There's a lot of individuals who recognize either themselves or a good friend, right? So I see a bunch of that, but there's this big gap where why don't the companies brag about their people? I mean, people come and go, so it's not always the same people. Obviously, there's attrition, things happen, but brag about your people and your culture and doing it in a way where you're recognizing the people and the relationships and the amazing energy that you're creating in your environment. That's going to bring guests to hotels, right? That's going to make you want to show up.
I created a little bit of an issue with a company I worked for a little while, 5, 6 years ago, and I they were known for, or I told them that you're known for making posts about your corporate employees and your owners and the people in the field that I was in contact with. They don't like that, and the response was, well, the owners, the CEO, the vice president, these are people that we need to highlight to inspire people to come work for our company. And I said, excuse my language, everybody, nobody gives a shit.
Yep.
Nobody cares how great you are as a person at the corporate office. Nobody cares. That's not what inspires people to work for you because somebody got an award at the corporate office.
Yeah.
What inspires people to work with you is when you see that person that recently got an award visiting the people at the property level saying, this is the best manager that I've ever hired. And it was 3 years ago. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And it's the best thing that ever happened to the company. That's what inspires people. And you don't even need to go visit the property. Just make a post on LinkedIn about the person and
Exactly.
put it on your website. And so that was not well received. And it was actually my way on out of the company eventually.
Yep.
But I really, truly believe that to be the case.
It's
And
true.
John, you just brought up something. Remember the days employees of the month, quarter of the year. What happened to that? It's a great question, John. And I think it's a great topic for another episode, to be
Yeah,
honest. Like
it
the
is.
things that we used to do that were really employee and team focused, that were budgeted and that were structured.
You know what we could
Um,
do, bro, on a future one? I know it may not be coming up right away, but on a future one, a great topic to get into would be practical tips, examples, and just showcase some of the successes that are out there. Showcase some of the examples that like you had from your study and that
mm,
are out there now. Here's a couple ways that some properties are doing it right. Right? Here's a couple things. I know they're very few and far between, but by showing practical examples, we could get out of the heads and conversation and into the reality of like what's out there. And we could just really show them this is how easy it is. You got a social media person on your team, have them talk to the GM and find out who gets recognized, and then spend a little bit of your marketing budget or branding budget on recognizing your own people and on making it a great environment for your people and
well,
showing them off.
we should, and I would say we already have. That's what you're defining are the people who move.
Yeah, you're right. The whole
I
theme
mean,
of this, that's what we've been
it's
doing.
the whole theme of it, and particularly we haven't done it a lot, but we have done it with Mark Alvarez,
Yeah.
with HP Hotels and now Reigns Co. Okay. One of the reasons why Mark was invited on here, and one of the reasons that I've always wanted to stay friendly and stay in touch with him, is that he does those things. Not only him individually, but the companies that he is loyal to, that he
Yep.
has worked for, that he has worked with. They allow him to inspire that in others. And so if you go to their website, if you go to their LinkedIn profile, it's and you go to Mark's profile, you see him in action doing those things. And so it is so simple, but it's very hard if it's not genuine.
Yep.
It,
Exactly.
it's so obvious. I should say it's so obvious
Yeah.
when it's not genuine, and when somebody's just trying to do it for other reasons that might be pure, but when it's not focused on your the people side, then you're going to start to go into uncharted territory where nobody wants to follow you.
Yeah. So I know we got to wrap up, but a pro
Yeah.
tip there, just to translate what you just said, is find your most empathetic leader or social media person and have
Mhm.
them do it, right? Because then it's going to be genuine. It's going to be real. They're going to say, how can we really bring the human factor into this
That's
authentically,
huge. Right.
right?
And even if they're working at, if you have a large company back to the hotel industry, you got a management company, you got 60 hotels, and you think that that one person that works at one of your properties is the most empathetic, engaged person, then let that person do it for your entire company.
Yeah,
Pay them a few
exactly.
extra bucks for their time. Have them start a little, side division for your
Yeah,
company. And I would think that that's a good way for someone to move socially upward. Social capital goes up. The entire company's social capital goes up.
we just
Everything
gave
gets easier and better.
that was probably $100 million tip right there on this episode we just gave everybody, bro. So
I think so.
big deal.
And with your $100 million, you can make the payment to Matt Zimbrowski with Agile Game Changers, or Adam Zimbrowski with Aspiamo.
That's right.
That's a good way to end, bro. It's a nice segue towards the conclusion here. Thanks for John Cardonia, John St. Omer, Evelyn, Bruce Jordan, who I mentioned before you got on. I really do want to have Bruce come on and visit. I've been very impressed by him, and I want to see what he's up to. So he'll be on a future episode. Had some recently great conversations with him, and also to Will Cannon and Elise Butel, who we mentioned. Uh, Brian Keller, who I didn't mention, but I've been having conversations with him too, out of Charlotte with social impactinvestments.com. Who else did I I think that's everybody that we mentioned, but that is it for now. John Cardonia is laughing out loud at me. He is very good at that. Love you, John. All right, bro. Love you, and we'll see you again next week.
Sounds good.
All
Love
right.
you.
Bye,
See you
everybody.
soon.